Hi everyone, it's Olga Zarr from SEO Sly. This is SEO podcast by SEO Sly. Today I have a special guest. This is Andreas. Andreas, how are you doing? SEO Sly, SEO done right. I'm Olga Zarr, an SEO consultant in SEO since 2012. Don't forget to subscribe to learn SEO for free with me. Now let's get into the show.
I'm well. Thank you very much, Olga. I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, I am very happy to have you here.
Good to
I
see
think
you since Barbados SEO.
Yeah, I think we met on Barbados, I think during the lunch, I
Yes,
think.
we
Yeah,
were.
yeah,
Yeah,
we like the second day it was, I don't remember. Yeah,
it
it
was
was
the
like
second day.
yeah, it was raining like crazy
Oh
there.
yes, it was, wasn't it? I think everybody's laptops were getting soaked.
It was cool. Are you going to Barbados again this year?
Uh, I know I'll go again. I don't know if it's this year though, so
Uh-huh.
fingers
Uh-huh.
crossed.
Uh-huh. Okay. Me too. I'm not sure as well. Okay. So, can you briefly introduce yourself? You are like an SEO veteran with so much experience. I am sure this is going to be a super interesting episode. But if you were to introduce yourself for someone who doesn't know you, can you do that in two
Yeah,
sentences or three?
I'll try. Yes, hello, my name's Andreas. I'm the founder SEO consultant of Artios, and I'm also the writer of this book here, Data-Driven SEO with Python. And yes, just as you said, Olga, I've been working for over 20 years in this industry. So I've worked on very small companies all the way to your mega enterprises like Amazon's and all across different industries. So yeah, it's been a very interesting time.
Yeah, like 20 years. Yeah. So, what were the very beginnings then, like 20 years ago? How did you land into SEO?
By pure accident.
Like
So,
everyone, I think.
yeah, I was actually working as a qualified accountant at the time,
Mhm.
and I met some friends. We went out on for an evening. It was speed dating actually, and there was this guy
Uh-huh.
there who I know I may regret sharing the story. So I met this guy, and he told me he was making money from his bedroom. I thought, money from your bedroom? That's very interesting. So he told me how he's got this website and it was earning money automatically. You know, you'd Google this keyword term. I'm keeping it anonymous just to respect to him. You'd Google this this search term, and he had 3 websites in the top 10. I thought this is really interesting. Then you would go to his website and you would upload your file. The website would you leave your credit card details, and within minutes your file has been repaired. And you know, this was automated income, and I thought, oh gosh, that's really interesting. I was like, well, how'd you get this traffic? How'd you get to the top of Google? And that's where my journey started, really, if I'm being honest. I dreamt
Uh-huh.
of making money in my sleep.
Yeah, the same with me. I also like came across an article exactly about that, making money online, and it was like it was for me it was like 12, maybe 15 years ago when I heard about it for the first time. So AdSense was like
Mm.
could bring tons of money back then, way more than it can now, I think. So yeah, the same story. So what? So you created your own website there,
Yeah,
and
yes. Well, I created my own website just to learn how to build a website and learn about SEO. I probably, like most people at the time, I read a lot of Webmaster World. I started experimenting with what I read because obviously not everything you read is true. I think that's true today as it is of yesterday.
yeah.
Then, so I just started testing what I learned. I started going to PubCon in London, and just nobody wanted to talk to me when I first came. I couldn't blame them if I'm being honest, because I didn't know anything, so I didn't bring anything to the table in terms of SEO knowledge.
Uh-huh.
And then I just said, right, okay, well, I started trying to work out who knew what they were talking about, and quite quite honestly, I just started writing checks to say, look, I clearly know nothing, but if you, for a few £100 a day, could you train me? Which was a lot more money then, 20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
than it is today. Could you just teach me what you know? So I did this, approached several people and learned from different people. And that, I think that helped accelerate my learning, because obviously, it cut potentially 5 years of trying to work it out myself to actually, you know, getting all it wasn't just the fish they were giving me, that the knowledge that worked today, but it was also the mindset and the thinking, uh,
Mm-hmm.
as to how SEO worked, how search engines worked, what the principles were. So all of these things, I think nowadays we're much more luckier, because there's a lot of guides, expert guides, expert courses that you pay for, but at least they are there. They weren't there
Yeah.
23 years ago. So it's, yeah, that's basically how it got going. And experimentation, testing, uh, that's that's really that's really how I started my journey.
You had different jobs, right? And for
Oh
how many
yeah,
years you have been your own boss?
yeah. So it's quite complicated, because I was kind
Uh-huh.
of on my own from the beginning,
Okay,
and
okay.
we had this regular customer at my parents' restaurant, and he wanted me to teach him how to use the internet. And
Okay.
it's not that he was not very clever or anything. He clearly was, because he got kicked out of school, and he ended up with a successful business, selling conservatories and double glazing and things like that. But he just didn't understand how computers or the internet worked. So anyway, I would spend these Friday afternoons, after my job finished, teaching him how the internet worked. And I told him about SEO and what I was doing and what I was learning, and he seemed a lot more interested in that than the internet. So he said, "Look, I know you're quite well paid as an accountant, but quit your job. I'll match your salary, and we'll figure out, how we can turn this into a business." So effectively, that was like my first SEO agency or consulting thing.
Okay.
So he sponsored me. Now the business folded after 1 year. So that's because, and when I look back, it's because I didn't know how to sell. I was very passionate about it, to accelerate my learning further in SEO, to help him get to the top of Google for competitive terms like double glazing. I simply hired a company in India and saw what they were doing as well, and that also helped me. So I got a lot of information from many different sources, if you like, or
Mhm.
experts, to see how SEO worked, and yeah, that also helped me along my journey.
Okay, okay. And can you tell me more about the experience you get, like the variety of projects? You mentioned some, so like what types of niches, what types of projects, like e-commerce, affiliate, like what were the types of SEO you were doing, which you enjoyed the most, and what is it that you focus on right now?
So I had a real variety. A lot of my experience was B2B, and
Mm-hmm.
as I became more confident, I started getting exposure to e-commerce, e-commerce websites and businesses, and that's obviously a lot more technical, because there's a lot more that could go wrong on an e-commerce site.
Yeah.
And then I've been doing things on jobs boards, one of the top 10 jobs boards in the UK. So I mean, yeah, there's my experience does span both e-commerce and B2B. So uh, I love e-commerce, in the sense that there's more technical issues to solve, and obviously it gets more complicated with JavaScript and just the way the world is going with apps and things like that. So that's quite
Mm-hmm.
interesting, and some of the things that I do, is trying to model which pages are generating the revenue, but are not quite getting enough of the, uh, if you like, page rank, and not getting enough
Mhm.
visits from the search engine. So um, that takes up quite a bit of my time on the e-commerce side of things.
Mhm, mhm. And I heard you also have some interest in Black Hat, uh,
Oh
part
yes,
of SEO, PBNs. Like, can you tell more
yeah.
about
So,
this?
so that was that was much more in the earlier days. You know, you
Uh-huh.
wouldn't be caught dead doing that on a brand unless it
Uh-huh.
was casino related. But yeah, I so you know in the early days, Phantom Master and Phantom Surfer, they had a product called this is embarrassing now, but they had a product called the Phantom Master, and what it did was it generated um, what we call spider food pages, right? So,
Mhm.
and they had a data bank of IP addresses, um, you know, of the search engines like Google. So they knew their software knew when when these search engines were visiting your spam site, and when it was and if it was a search engine, it would just show the sort of spider content. But if it was a human
Okay.
visitor, you could redirect it through an affiliate link to a merchant site, and it would rank pretty high in the search engine. So now a lot of affiliates were using their product primarily for the purpose of making money off affiliates, but I was and still am a terrible affiliate, which is why I don't do it. But it gave
Mhm.
me invaluable lessons as to what the limits were in SEO. So that was really interesting for me because I think it's one thing to know best practice, but I think if you can really push the limits without doing any moral or ethical harm, then it just increases your knowledge. Like some of the
Yeah.
things that I learned were how you could get a news website index by linking to it through your XML sitemap. So that was
Mhm.
quite funny. You could even effectively link to sites for an XML sitemap of an established site.
Yeah. Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
just stuff like that.
Uh-huh. Okay, okay. And now what is it mainly regarding SEO that you do now? What services you offer?
So just holistic consulting, everything from
Mhm.
the technical auditing side of things to um, content optimization to digital PR. So helping clients, creating that content for them, creating the research that will help their content add unique value on the net, and then promoting it via outreach to get it into
Mhm.
uh, the top five of the SERPs, and then helping it learn backlinks automatically or autonomously.
Mhm. And do you have a team or is it just you?
I do have a team, but I'm really the front of house, so
Uh-huh.
people generally only speak to me. But I'm hoping that will change in the next 2 to 3 years, where I'll have senior consultants working alongside
Uh-huh.
me.
Okay. What is data-driven SEO? Tell me from start to
Well,
finish. What does it mean?
yeah, so data-driven SEO is really just applying data science
Mhm.
to the SEO problem or challenge. So you know how we've got these tools like your crawlers, your SEMrush, your Ahrefs. I don't want to leave any major tool provider, otherwise they might,
Mhm.
might get upset. But it's basically analyzing all of this SEO data and looking for patterns that are verifiable and repeatable, so that when you make the recommendations, they're reliable and they're actually likely to deliver an improvement in your traffic.
Mhm.
So it's just really using statistics and uh, that, I mean, when you think about it, a lot of these tools they just give you loads of data, right? But the data science is that extra that next step, if you like, as to how do we analyze that data ultra efficiently so that we can do better SEO. So that's what I don't know if I know I've taken the very long way around of explaining what data driven SEO is, but
Uh-huh.
hopefully that explains what it is.
Yeah, but to a very beginner. Okay, so I have data from Ahrefs, SEMrush, GSC. Give me a specific example, like what can I do? How can I do it? What
Yeah.
can I learn?
Yeah, so using data-driven SEO, for example, you might want to work out which which backlinks were the best. You know, now it's not, best practice, if you will, might say, well, the best links are the ones with the highest domain authority, for example. But often I've seen cases, for example, using machine learning where I've found that in the furniture space, the best backlinks were those that got the most shares from Pinterest. And it actually
Uh-huh.
showed that the machine learning model showed that if the link from Pinterest didn't get more than, say, 300 shares, then it wouldn't be as powerful.
Hmm.
So it's just stuff
Okay.
like that. I think I read in your newsletter actually that you were talking about Cora,
Yeah.
and that's the kind of stuff
Yeah.
that data science does, except
Uh-huh.
Cora have managed to package it in the software.
So do you use Cora as well?
I don't use Cora. I've got my own systems that I've built and started building in 2015 when I started getting into machine learning.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't use Cora, but I would imagine Cora is a good system because it would be based on the same foundations.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think so. So data-driven SEO with Python. So do I have to know Python? Do I have to learn how to code with Python to be able to be a good SEO who also can make good decisions driven or data on data?
Strictly speaking, no, because I started learning data science using a language called R, which
Uh-huh.
is literally the letter R, and it's very
Yeah, yeah,
similar
yeah.
to Python. So you don't have to learn Python. However, I'd recommend that you learn Python because it's the language that everybody uses, and it's just much easier to share your code, if you will, so that other
Mm-hmm.
people
Mm-hmm.
can use it and understand it. Um, I mean, I've written a book on it, but it's probably more on the science side. I would also say that it's also helpful that the more you can increase your knowledge in the area uh, of statistics and mathematics, then your Python becomes more powerful. And let me give you an analogy to explain
Mm-hmm.
what I mean. If you pick two people, okay, they both, but one's read 0 books, the other one has read 1,000 books. Who do you think has more to say in that language?
I guess the second one.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same with Python, right? Because you can learn Python and you can be equally fluent, but the person who knows more mathematics or computer science is going to have more to say in Python than the person who hasn't learned mathematics. So I think the stats side is very important as well. I'm not saying don't bother learning Python if you don't want to learn stats. By all means, learn it because it will still give you the appreciation as to how a search engine might process a website or a web page. But if you can learn the math side as well, then it gives you a deeper appreciation as to how a search engine might work in total. And
Mm-hmm.
there's quite a few courses that are on the web now and in person that can teach you these things.
Can you recommend any?
I haven't been on any. I've just finished filming a course with O'Reilly Media on data science SEO, but there are other really good courses. So without the self-nomination, there's Elias Dabas's. I hope I said his name right. There's his course on data
Uh-huh.
science SEO with Python. Again, I haven't tried it, but it seems like he's getting really good feedback, and I trust that he's doing a great job. So that would probably be a really good starting point for people just starting out in their data journey for SEO.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And can you give me like a real life example of an SEO project where you applied data science and what you learned and what the outcome was of that learning?
Yeah, sure. there's quite a few to pick from, but I'll pick a recent one. So I
Can
was
be
working
more
with
than one because this is like, yeah.
oh, there's quite a few. So I'll start with the first one then.
Okay.
So the first one is I'm still working with a an online retailer that sells fashion jewelry, and with thousands of products, we wanted to reshape the information architecture so that more of the revenue generating products would rank higher and obviously be more visible. So, what I did was I looked at their internal and external page rank. And then what I did was I compared the statistical distribution of that page rank with the distribution of their revenue. So, what I was looking for was um, was for high revenue pages that were uh, that pages that had low page rank but very high revenue. So what I was looking to do was to redress the balance of pay the ratio of revenue to page rank. And so that's an example. So from that, I was able to create a solution where we managed to throw more internal links to those higher revenue pages that weren't getting many internal links.
And
That's
the
the
result
first.
was,
The result was well, we beat their monthly revenue target by 76%.
oh, nice, nice,
So
very
they're
nice.
very happy.
Yeah, I
But
can imagine that. Okay, okay. And any other example?
yeah, another example is that I worked with another retailer, separate one, but again in fashion. They got downgraded. Um, they simply lost a lot of rankings in following an update later last year. And so what I did was I took a load of data before and after just to find out where they lost the traffic, and then what I did was I took a load of data on the competitors and then slammed it into a machine learning model to find out what could explain the differences in ranking according to offsite and on-page features. So, and that gave us a lot of useful insights. Um, and we managed to plus once we knew what that was, there's hundreds of ranking factors, but what the machine learning model did was it allowed us to look into where we should focus our efforts, and what we could be confident would work, because best practice SEO, there's hundreds of things you could do, and we managed to recover 80% of their traffic
Oh.
following. Yeah, so they were very happy with that.
And what were the things that you should focus on? What would the machine learning model tell you?
Well, in this particular case, there were some really odd things like
Ah,
not branding your title tags.
okay.
So that was one. The
Uh-huh.
other one was thin content. They were putting out loads of PLPs and PDPs, but not putting any content on there. So that was something that was picked up as well.
Okay, okay. And talking about machine learning models, so do you like create your own? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah. So what I do is I don't write them from scratch. I'm still using libraries like
Uh-huh.
XGB Boost. So these are open source models, but in terms of coding it and deploying it, yes, I have to write that from scratch.
Nice. Okay. Okay, okay. Tell me like more details, more,
Yeah.
because like
Well,
this is like
the,
geeky stuff.
yeah. Well, the funny thing is that the models itself are uh, that's the sexy bit, and that's the last 5%. But there's the 90%, if you like, that is the hard work, and that is getting the data. So using APIs to get on-site data. So and getting SERPs data as well. So, for example, a lot of APIs. A lot of rank tracking tools like Rank Ranger, for example, they offer an API, and you could collect SERP data.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see who's ranking, what the ranking URLs are, and then you can use those to go and get the data on those URLs. So you can crawl them. And again, it's if you imagine a giant spreadsheet, you've got the URL, you've got the keyword, the ranking position, and then you've got, like, say, word count, title tag, all these different things, the core web vital score. So we're just trying to get as much data as possible on each of those URLs, just to see, think of it as hypotheses that we can test, much like
Mm-hmm.
Cora probably does already.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's all it is. But I'm just doing it by hand using a self-coded machine learning model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think so because correlates. I don't know how many. Like I think more than 100,000 factors, kind of
Yeah,
measures correlate, and yeah, this is like this has done so much heavy lifting, and I don't have to be such a geek, such a pro when it comes to data analysis as you are, and I can still get the leverage from, for example, from this tool.
100%.
Yeah, and tell me more about your book. What is it like? Is it like an intro? Is it for more intermediate SEO analysts? Like, do you have other books? Like, tell me more about it.
Yeah. So this book, I'd say you'd be expected to be an SEO expert, because if you don't know SEO, it's not going to be very interesting for you. But it does. You, you don't even need to be a Python coder really, to because there's code in the book that you can literally use to start building your own scripts, to start doing your own machine learning, your own. It covers all of the different work streams of SEO, from keyword research to algorithm recovery, content recommendations, how to model page rank, all of those sorts of things. So that's the way I structured the book, because I want it to be a useful manual that you as an SEO could dip in and out of. I want to scale up or automate, or I want a more statistical approach to keyword research, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the chapter on keyword research will show you how to get data from Google Search Console, how to process it, how to estimate the maximum number of impressions, for example, how to do forecasts, if you want to do forecasts for your reporting. So it's got all bunch of goodies in there that SEOs will want to know. So I've had some very good reviews. Somebody said that it's criminal how much I'm giving away. So,
Oh,
yeah,
I
be
have
my
to check
guest.
that then because
For
I
sure.
haven't read your book yet, but definitely on my list now.
Well, hopefully, if we meet in Barbados again, I'll if you want me to, I'll sign it.
Okay, yeah, sure, of course. That would be
Maybe we could do
perfect.
a podcast there.
Yeah, yeah, like with palms and the ocean in the background. Yeah, hopefully no rain.
100%, yes.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. Okay, so you have a lot of powerful data about SEO, how search engines work. So with all that knowledge, like what's can you tell me more about what has been going on with Google in your opinion for the last, I don't know, half a year, maybe even longer since like the helpful content update
Yeah.
has been there? Like what are your observations, field observations?
Well, I think what's coming quite obvious to me, if you like, is the is the emphasis on proprietary data. It's definitely becoming more data led. I mean, we're seeing the dataset schema appear more in the search engine results. I think the other thing is that if you really want to succeed in in search going forward and today, is that you need to bring something unique to the table. So if you could bring proprietary data to the table, because as I'm sure as you know, there's a lot of, like, must know trends about target keyword X. It's
Yeah,
filling the
yeah.
web. We now got Chat GPT. We have a chat GPT enabled webmaster web. So, back in the day, it was automated content spinning, and then it became
Yeah.
human spinning.
And now we have, yeah.
Yeah, now we have ChatGPT, so it's on steroids now. I don't totally buy that. I don't think we should be asking ourselves, how can Google tell the difference between um, content that's been ChatGPT generated versus human written. I think the question should be, um, you know, what, what is it that separates content from delivering the right user signals to those not delivering the right user signals? So I think that's the other aspect. So proprietary content, but also user signals. And I think the key question for us is, and maybe these two are linked. What is it that we can do as SEOs to make sure that when it comes to machine learning from a Google perspective, they're going to do stuff like clustering, okay, clustering of content that has the
Mm-hmm.
right user signals versus those that has the wrong user signals. So, what are the things that we can do to make sure that our content lands in the smaller cluster of the correct user signals?
Yeah, yeah, because like at first when ChatGPT became popular, like people were talking about that how Google will know if my content is AI generated. Then we have all those AI detectors,
Yeah.
people trying to check whether content created by humans or AI. Of course, those AI detectors do not really get it right, and even if they did, Google removed even that sentence from their documentation where they stated that AI content, they don't want AI content. They basically changed that they care about content created for people,
Mm.
not by people, something like that. Anyway, they kind of admitted that they don't care if it is AI content as long as the
Yeah.
content really does what it's supposed to do. And even if let's even assume that Google is after AI content and Google actually wants to check whether your content is AI generated, how much resources, right, it would take Google to even be
Yeah.
able to detect. And
Exactly.
yeah, like
Exactly. It probably takes 5% of the total resource required, i.e., it's 95% more efficient to just see, is the content delivering what users want? Yes or
yeah.
no? And it's far simpler. So I'm not surprised that they retracted this. And it's probably because they improved their own internal systems on being able to focus on the right things rather than the wrong things.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. Okay, okay. So tell me now a more personal question, like what does your normal SEO day look like? Like do you work like 16 hours a day or maybe 3 hours a day?
Well, I'm getting busier, so I have had to pull the odd 1 or 2 a.m.s. There was a couple of weeks where I've had a few
Uh-huh.
2 a.m.s, but
Oh.
yeah, there was one Friday where where I worked until 4:30 a.m. So
Oh.
luckily that's a one-off. But generally speaking, I do long days, but I try to break them up with small breaks here and there. So and I generally spend the first part of my day is, once you get all your sort of exercise out of the way, I look at across all of the clients. I've built systems to check very quickly what the performance of the clients are doing.
Mhm.
And that's quite good because obviously it keeps my finger on the pulse. I think it's very difficult to be tuned in unless you're doing that. So that's one of the things I do. And then obviously I have to work through my list, not just delivering on client projects, but also running a business as well.
Mhm, mhm. So you mostly now have do client work, of course, running business, or do you also like build your own websites? You mentioned you're not really into affiliate SEO, but
Correct.
do you also like have your own sites?
Yes, I have a few sites. I would call them more hobby and testing sites.
Uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
I am interested. I'm not going to say what they are,
Okay.
but I'm very much, for example, I use machine learning for picking my stocks for buying and selling. So I really enjoy that.
Okay.
It seems to be reasonably profitable so far, touch wood. I'm also into cooking. I don't really post on that, but
Uh-huh.
so my parents own restaurants. So, you know, whilst you could take me out of the restaurant, you can't take the restaurant out of me. So
Uh-huh.
I've got over 1,000 cookbooks, and I love
Oh,
cooking at the weekends.
but are they like your cookbooks or?
Oh no, no, these are cookbooks that I've bought.
Oh,
You know.
I thought that maybe you wrote them or
Oh
something.
no, 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 no. I tell you what, though, I would really love to write a cookbook
Uh-huh.
for sure.
Do you have a cooking website?
No, no, I don't. But
Yeah.
I've written a few recipes on Google Docs and stuff. So
Uh-huh.
if you ever want a cooking tip on how to make the perfect steak, I could definitely advise.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I used to have, I think I still have a cooking website, but it has been like running on its own for 6 years without me touching it. But
Maybe I could be a guest contributor.
but I don't even know if I can log into that without like trying to change the user and password in database because like I have abandoned that site totally.
Oh
But
no.
it still has been bringing some money from ads,
Oh, that's
but
good.
like totally on autopilot.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
That's
okay.
great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wish I could create more such sites if only I had a little bit more time.
Always the way.
So, yeah, so talking about AI, like what's your take on that? How do you use AI, Chat GPT, Claude, Bard, Gemini? Like, is it like part of your SEO process
It
now?
is, yeah. Like, for example, if I'm tasked with having to optimize, say, hundreds of web page titles, I definitely use AI to generate the draft, with some inputs, and that can be very useful. But I do find that there still needs to be some human moderation.
Yeah.
But still, I think it's much better than staring at a blank spreadsheet and then, having to write them from scratch. If you can edit something, it can be A, more motivating, and B, a quicker process.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I think I heard it, I don't know, this week that Google created this tool. I think it is a Chrome extension that is kind of your writing assistant that whenever you are on a website typing into a form, writing an email, it can kind of help you. And I think this is an exaggeration because like sometimes it takes more time to create something with the right prompt as
Mm.
if you were just to type the like I don't know two sentence
Yeah.
of a message to submit to I don't know to a website you want to ask about. So like
It kind of reminds you of how things were like in the early internet days, right?
yeah,
We had dial-up, and then we had very awful search engines before Google came along, and then, you just know things are gonna get much better. Maybe not at the time, but, um,
yeah,
I can imagine 5 years from now, we
yeah.
it's almost like we'll get to the point where we just think what we want, and then the AI just does it, you know?
Yeah, so 5 years from now, do you think we SEOs will be out of our jobs? What are your predictions for us?
I I think it will be different. I'm a real optimist. I don't think SEOs are going to be like the horses were when the age of cars came along. So I think we're best deployed when we're humans, right? So we're our best skills and gifts are in creating and responding. So I don't think SEOs will be out of a job. I just think the job will be very different. I think it will be okay. Well, how do the AI has said this? What is the solution that we should create? And there's already AI
Yeah.
programs, and there have been AI programs that can compose music, but can they compose music as good as whatever Taylor Swift?
Yeah,
She
yeah,
seems
yeah.
to be the very fashionable, popular musician these days. Will they ever be able to do it as close to Taylor Swift? Probably not. But the point is that they won't be able to do SEO. I mean, they will, but they won't be able to do it as well as an intelligent SEO. So
Yeah.
I think it just in fact, if anything, it could increase the price of SEO because people will want SEO done well.
Yeah.
It probably just increases the range of people that can benefit from SEO. But of course, it will just mean that if you rely totally on AI, the SEO won't be as good, but your pages will still be optimized. Will you get traffic? Probably not, but at least you'll be on the web.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. And can you recall some weird SEO situation you have been in recently or not recently? Something like weird, totally weird.
Well, this is quite weird. How about a friend of mine wanted to become uh, Britain's best-looking chiropractor?
Okay.
So what I did was I optimized his image and his backlink profile so that when you typed in Britain's best looking chiropractor or even best looking chiropractor, his image came up in Google.
Oh, okay.
So it's weird, but that's the answer I have for your question. I'm sure there's
Yeah,
more weird examples, but
yeah, sure.
that comes to mind.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so what advice would you give to people who are just starting out in SEO?
I think the advice I would give, and it hasn't changed in 15 to 20 years, is that I say 15 because obviously I wasn't an expert 20 years ago. So I would say you should build your own website, right? Because and you should optimize it because if you don't know how to build your own website, I'm not saying you have to become a master developer, but at least if you know, it's pretty easy to build, install a WordPress, for example, and then start putting content and optimizing it. And one of the things I used to do is I used to optimize for for completely made up keywords just to start very easy. And
Yeah,
I think it's really important for SEOs to do this because if you're an SEO consultant, or even if you work in a company and you're going to make recommendations to get a company website changed, there's quite a bit at stake there. There's your company's livelihood or your client's livelihood. So if you're giving advice on something that you don't know, that you have no direct experience of, then that doesn't seem ethically correct. Can you
yeah,
imagine taking driving lessons from someone who's never passed their driving test or hasn't even driven a car? Wouldn't that be weird?
I guess.
So why would we take SEO advice from people who have never built and optimized a website? Even if you've had your website built for you, why would you take advice from someone who doesn't optimize websites
Yeah,
firsthand? It doesn't make sense. So that would be my advice. And obviously, the more you can learn, the better. I mean, I'm not a website developer, but I still learned how to build a website. I still learned how to read and write HTML. I learned how to write content. Okay, I've written a book, but I'm not a content writer. I don't know. I
yeah,
don't have the tools of English literature, of storytelling. I don't know about. I know what tone of voice is and what the use of it is, but I wouldn't know how to put a tone of voice together. So I think it's really about learning as many different things as possible. I've had to learn digital PR from scratch. 20 years ago, we started with reciprocal links and triangulation
yeah,
links, and then, PBNs, blogger outreach. Then it transitioned to the blogger outreach. But, you know, I had to learn that from scratch because there were no kind of Brighton SEO courses on these sorts of things. So um, I think the more you can learn about the different aspects, I even did paid search marketing once
mhm,
upon a time. So I think that was really useful because you get to learn more about the sort of higher intent buyer ready keywords, and it gives you an idea of, it's just the more different ways you can look at SEO, I think the more perspectives you gain,
Yeah.
and the more value you can bring to the table when it comes to advising on SEO.
Yeah, yeah, perfect, perfect advice. Okay, so Andreas, where can people find you? What's the best place to connect with you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on X. My website is artios.io. LinkedIn, I'm reasonably active, and I sometimes write for OnCrawl or Search Engine Journal. So you can't really miss me on the web.
Okay, okay. And YouTube? Do you have YouTube or not
I
yet?
do have YouTube. I'm slightly embarrassed. I don't know how well maintained that is, but I'm definitely on
Okay,
YouTube.
okay, okay, perfect.
I need
Okay,
I need to improve.
okay. Everyone has to improve. Me too, like as
Absolutely.
well. Okay, Andreas, thank you so much for being
Thank
my
you.
guest. Yeah, it was a pleasure and a ton of things. I feel very well motivated now to get more into data analysis, definitely.
Yeah,
And I
fantastic.
recommend everyone to reading the book Data-Driven SEO. So yeah, tha- thanks
Thank
everyone
you.
and thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Cheers.